All right, let's jump right into it. Today we're diving into this explainer for Phase 3, Video 10, and we are launching a full forensic audit of a truly incredible modern mission. We're looking at a scenario where pure, undeniable human intent physically altered the real world. No guessing games with cloud AI here, just absolute, verifiable truth. We're going to map out the physical execution of intent via an agentic swarm orchestration across a massive distance. And trust me, the metrics on this one are absolutely staggering. Okay, so before we get into the weeds, just let this massive number sink in for a second. 55.5 million. In the source documents, this specific number was recorded during a verified proof of process. What is it? It represents the exact amount of computational energy, literally the tokens of metabolic flux, utilized by an AI swarm to execute this modern operation. It's basically a massive digital monument, proving mathematically that a sovereign human pilot was the one safely steering the ship the entire time. Then we have this number. Exactly 66. That's 66 precise manual interventions that were required to actually make this mission a reality. Think of these like surgical forensic strikes by the human pilot. They're intentional actions that firmly grab the steering wheel back from the automated machine. It ensures your exact design, your actual intent, isn't somehow lost in translation. And finally, 581. This is just a staggering number because it represents literal physical kilometers in the real world. Guys, this isn't theoretical data. It's definitely not a ping time. It's the actual real-world physical reach of this digital strike. So we're going to trace exactly how those 55.5 million tokens and 66 strikes culminated in a physical, tangible action 581 kilometers away.
Which brings us to Section 1, the record of sweat.
So what's really fascinating here is how the historic legal doctrine of the sweat of the brow has literally been revived, but now as a modern mathematical proof. It creates this permanent cryptographic history anchored right into a digital ledger. And what that does is it stops our actions from just getting swallowed up by the opaque, foggy nature of modern AI. You simply cannot sever the digital command from the physical calories burned to execute it. That is our undeniable anchor.
And that loops us right back to our first metric. This huge digital monument perfectly quantifies the immense raw computational energy, literally the digital sweat, required to carry out the pilot's intent. Because the scale is so massive at 55.5 million tokens of metabolic flux, we get an absolute, mathematically verified receipt. It proves that human effort shielded the entire mission from all that probabilistic, random noise of the cloud.
Let's move right into Section 2. Agentic swarm orchestration. So how do you actually run this without losing control? Well, by using a highly secure command line interface, the sovereign Metagate CLI, the human pilot orchestrates a flawless digital baton pass through a sequence of highly specialized AI agent cells. We're talking about Telleskilla, Perictione, Phaidon, Praxilla, Hippodamus, and Miltiades. You know, these aren't just random programs. They form an intensely focused sequential lineage, which maintains absolute structure. You, the human, stay at the root node directing the strategy, while your intent just flows seamlessly down this specialized chain.
This is such a brilliant contrast between our messy, associative human intent on the left and the cold, deterministic execution of the machine on the right. The pilot does the leading, right? And the machine does the lifting. It's a non-severable bond, but it demands that a human explicitly forces this rigid machine toward a very specific goal.
All right, on to Section 3, State Invariant Inheritance.
Looking back at the source documents, they reveal it took exactly 66 precise forensic strikes by the human pilot to lock in the metadata perfectly across the entire swarm. These manual strikes enforce what's called state invariant inheritance, which, is a super technical way of saying the data is mathematically uncorrupted. The core instruction literally never mutated. The human pilot manually pruned the code, applying their own sweat of the brow to guarantee the AI didn't just veer off course.
As the research perfectly puts it, the human pilot applies the intent, but the agent cell executes the sweat. The big takeaway here is that there's no magical ghost in the machine. The AI is really just a deterministic scripter bending to your will as the human author. It's a highly capable vessel bridging the gap between your imagination and machine reality, but make no mistake, the magic of authorship is completely yours. We actually use strictly formatted text as a semiotic bridge to forcefully compile our human imagination right into rigid silicon hardware. And I absolutely love this phrase from the research, tricking rocks into thinking with lightning. It's just so good. Because human thought is so fluid, and silicon processors are completely rigid, we have to squeeze our intent through discrete, structured text, like code or JSON. It's really the only safe way to bridge that gap without the machine totally hallucinating on us.
And all of this careful orchestration builds up to Section 4, the 581-kilometer strike.
It's crazy, but we can actually draw a direct historical parallel from Paul Revere's undeniable physical ride against the royalist substrate in 1775 right to our modern digital equivalent. The researchers call this cycle the 1689 breach, this recurring sociological battle where centralized powers constantly try to fence in local agency. Revere pushed back physically. Today, we push back against the centralized cloud empire using highly localized deterministic digital strikes. The structure of execution is exactly the same. Literally, only the technology has changed.
And just to be absolutely crystal clear on this, 581 kilometers is not a data transfer rate. It is the literal physical distance in the real world where human intent forcefully manifested via hardware. The modern pilots synchronized their digital execution, totally bypassing centralized AI kingship. To orchestrate physical autonomous drones, that mandate traveled 581 kilometers, triggering a completely flawless, deterministic physical flight. It proves, without a doubt, that you can translate a digital text file into an undeniable real-world hardware execution and not lose a single drop of fidelity.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the sovereign pilot.
This sequence right here traces the exact forward momentum of the whole operation, proving that human intent absolutely cannot be separated from deterministic digital execution. Step 1, you start at the root node, grounding the reality. Step 2, you use the swarm CLI to orchestrate the AI swarm, keeping your hands firmly on the wheel with those 66 manual forensic strikes. And finally, Step 3, the protocol is securely carried all the way out to the edge for physical execution. It is just a total, absolute rejection of passive computing.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on regarding who truly holds the reins of your digital reality. The semiotic bridge is built. The tools to translate your exact intent into physical reality are right there on the command line. So, will you step up to become a sovereign pilot, demanding absolute fidelity by enforcing your own record of sweat? Or are you just going to remain a passive passenger, surrendering your intent to the centralized, guessing noise of AI? The choice and the execution is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep questioning the architecture around you.